Hey guys, today I want to talk about something that happened to me very recently. Do you ever experience those periods where you just are not productive? You cannot get out of bed. Whatever you do, it's just shit. You feel like shit and you really don't feel any form of enjoyment except maybe, when you watch TV, when you get something cool to eat, when you hang out with your girlfriend or with another girl. And, just those things that kind of vanish when you're alone and you start to think, well, what the hell am I doing with my life? So I had that very recently, and I want to talk about that because I think everybody has that. And it's very hard to stay optimistic and stay motivated in those times. Kind of have this inner belief that there is an end in the tunnel and there's a light. And I wanted to talk about that, especially looking at this comment, this quote over here. It is not over when you lose, it is over when you quit. And those periods, they are very characteristic, coming from an energy or an emotion called apathy, which is most importantly the absence of any feelings, and especially positive feelings. And this emotion calls for rest. This emotion calls for, the first place, you will always experience apathy after every moment when you need to rest. For example, after eating, you might have a moment when you need to sleep. It's just a hormonal balance that puts you in a zone where your body and your mind needs to rest. So the best way to get out of that is definitely to sleep, to rest, and basically to embrace the shit. Embrace that shitty feeling. Don't force necessarily against it, because what happens after a moment of rest? What happens after a moment of total disconnection, of total break? What happens after a pause? It's basically the end of something. It's basically something inside dying. It's something coming to an end. And it's something that needs to recharge, regenerate. This is the same as when you go to bed. You're tired, and when you wake up the next day, it's a new day. Something is always new at the end of that period. Here with apathy, which is a very difficult emotion to understand because it's extremely helpful, because every change requires that transition. What happens is after there is a new thing. So the first thing was rest. The second is seek the novelty. It's literally your body, your mind, your psyche calling you and screaming at you to find something new in your life. For me personally, it has been just completely changing my mindset, coming from a place of, well, what I'm doing with my life is basically what I always wanted to do, and it's I have to do it, and I will be happy when I get there, to, you know what, everything I do in my life, I must do it with enjoyment. I must do it with happiness. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Of course, there are things that I don't want to do, or things that I don't appreciate that much, but they need to be done with a sense of, I'm on a mission. I'm on the pursuit of my path. And not just, I'll be happy when I get there, but I'm actually happy to do it. So for me, it has been, an incredibly amazing awakening after that shitty period, because then I started to eat differently. I started to just have a completely different morning routine. I started to listen to really empowering music and always be in that very, very high, strong state. It always calls for something new, especially you can find that novelty when you get coaching. And it's actually the best period, in my opinion, the best period to get coached is when you are in that down, in that apathetic state, because that's exactly where you can really reflect on your life. And that's where, even if you're not necessarily conscious of it, that's when you are the most receptive to change, because your body, your mind, your psyche, your soul craves that change and craves novelty. So this was the topic of the day. See you tomorrow.